And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Late Night Podcast. I am Anthony Irwin. I am joined tonight by Harrison Fagan and by new guest. You've been on one show previously in our big Lakers Silver Screen and Roll preview way before the preseason even started. Sabrina Merchant, how you doing?
Pretty good. Very excited about Julius Randle. I think that's the last thing we talked about when I was here.
Well, I think we'll probably talk about him a little bit again tonight. There's a good chance that might happen. Harrison, how are you holding up? You were in charge of the tweets for Silver Screen and Roll tonight. Safe to say Lakers fans were a little frustrated?
I would.
One more time.
I wouldn't go in the mentions for Silver Screen and Roll, but that's just me. I wouldn't check those. That's not advisable for your mental health.
Oh man, I made that mistake. With Dodgers Nation, I went through their Facebook mentions for an article I wrote the other day, and don't ever do that. Just don't ever do that.
Oh yeah, no, never go on Facebook. I've learned that. Never go on Facebook for anything. But yeah, even Twitter tonight. People are mad. People are they are not happy. This team is not living up to their expectations.
There were boos. I heard boos tonight. I think Mike Bresnahan tweeted out that there were boos tonight. And to be honest,
I mean, in fairness, they were for Ryan Kelly because replacing Julius Randle. So.
Well, no, I think Dirk made like 3 shots in a row, and the boos started raining down at that point.
They were just chanting, "We want Lou."
Yeah, and not Lou Williams. It's Lou Walton. Just so we know what's going on. How sad is that Luke Walton is now seen as a savior for the Lakers? This is how far the Lakers have fallen at this point.
The best team in the NBA.
Yeah, Swag Bro's coming home.
Hey, this is why Luke might be considered a savior for the Lakers. Mark Medina just tweeted out, Byron said he's not sure when he'll consider changing this rotation.
He's not guys, you got to think about, he needs some time to decide whether or not he wants to consider this, okay?
You guys go ahead.
He needs to take a little step back, get a larger sample size of games, and then decide whether or not he wants to consider changing the rotation.
You guys handle the show. I'm not even going to talk anymore. I don't even know what to say. All right, we'll get to Byron here in a bit, as usual. I mentioned this before we came on the air, but before every single show, I just jot down a few notes that we're doing. I'm going to take you guys behind the curtain as to the highly technologically advanced podcast system that we have going here. I take notes on a little card with what we're going to talk about. We have Randall because he was amazing out there. Ryan Kelly, Brandon Bass, which was the opposite of that. And then Byron, and I would imagine that this Byron portion is going to be a consistent topic for all of our shows, so that's going to be fun. Like we mentioned, or like I alluded to, Randall was amazing. Sabrina, when you first jumped on to the show, you said you wanted to talk about Randall for 25 minutes. I'd be fine with that. I'd be in a good mood. But he was amazing tonight, right?
Right. If only he could go right. Amazing how often he goes left and they still can't figure out that he's going left, and they still defend him as if he's capable of going both directions.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so aggressive, and he goes right to the rim, and we were talking about this earlier. He just doesn't really care about the offense sometimes, and he just goes for the opening, which is great.
And it's rare that we're saying that a player it really says something about where the coaching is at this point and where the offense is at this point, that we're saying he just completely ignores the offense as a positive. Most of the time, if you're saying that about a rookie, it's not meant as a compliment. If we were at, after games last year when we were saying Nick Young completely ignores the offense, that wasn't meant as a compliment.
That wasn't a compliment. Now it's Russell is our strongest rookie because he hates the offense enough to just say screw it.
He demonstrated open contempt for the Princeton system.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be remiss not to mention his line because, again, he was incredible tonight. This will probably go down as one of his best performances of the season, it's hard to imagine he'll play much better than he did tonight. But 22 points on 9 of 17 shooting. He struggled a little bit at the free throw line, 4 of 8, but 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, a block, only 2 turnovers, and I believe, the only net positive on the Lakers roster tonight in terms of plus minus, which is a flawed stat, but there you have it. What made him so successful other than Dirk being prehistoric at this point? Harrison.
I was gonna say it's just. I mean, that was a big part of it. Was Dirk can't really stay. People talk about a traffic cone as a pejorative for a defender. And I don't know that Dirk could stay in front of a traffic cone at this point. But Randle's best attribute is really, like we talked about, he ignores the offense, he just tries to get to the rim, and really it's his size combined with his dribbling ability. When he decides to go to the rim, it doesn't really matter if his defender's on him or not because they just bounce off once he makes contact. He's so strong. He's so good at using that shoulder and getting it into a guy's chest that once he develops a little bit more rhythm around the rim and starts finishing a little bit more and maybe a little bit better with his right hand, like you mentioned, Sabrina, he's going to be really special.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about Randle is how good he is in transition. When he gets the rebound and just goes straight up the floor, even if it's like in semi-transition, he's just impossible to cover.
One thing that I found, holy moly, brief update. I'm not sure if we're going to get in trouble for this, but Kansas City is killing the New York Mets, so congratulations to Tom if they do wind up pulling that out. Tom Fair, I always say his name wrong, is a huge Kansas City Royal fan, and there's a GIF somewhere in Silver Screen's tweets of him slow clapping amazingly. But no, with Randle, you mentioned the transition, Sabrina. He doesn't seem to force anything in transition, which is really impressive for a rookie.
Yeah, just good things seem to happen whenever he just barrels down the floor. Usually you're worried about guys getting charges or just going 1-on-3 and not seeing the guys around them, but he seems to make really good decisions in transition, which is very impressive, especially so young.
He was also, what caught me by surprise tonight was how effective he was at going by people when they were still, people were giving him 5-6 feet, hoping that he shoots the shot, but he just kind of closed that gap with a couple dribbles, got into the defenders' bodies, and like you mentioned, Harrison, people just kind of bounced off of him, and they really didn't have much, success, maintaining any kind of balance against him. Another update: Brandon Bass has a coronial abrasion, left eye. Well, I'm reading Shahan's tweet. So. Yep.
Oh, he must have. Yeah, he misspelled. I think it's corneal, like eye. Your cornea.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
We should. It did give us an idea for a new podcast where we just try and read injuries and guess what they are.
That's not dangerous at all.
Yeah.
But lastly, on Randle, before we kind of move on, the offensive stuff, I feel like we all knew that he was going to be not what he was tonight. That came completely out of nowhere. But defensively, he still continues to stay in front of people a lot better than we anticipated, right, Harrison?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do a phenomenal job on Dirk tonight when he was. I don't remember. I don't know, like off the top of my head, exactly how many points Dirk had on him.
All of them.
He did go 10 of 13 from the field, and he looked pretty impressive on offense overall. Like, as much as Randle was abusing him on offense, Dirk was giving it right back to him at age, what is it? What is he, 37, 36? Yeah. It was a pretty stark contrast between how well Dirk was playing at his age versus Kobe on the Lakers at just about the same age.
We're going to, moment of silence for Kobe's career. This is really sad. He's bad. Like, there are no other adjectives for it, right?
People were talking about, and I thought this was a good point. During the preseason, he was pretty solid, but then he had that leg injury. And since he's come back, it's just been rough, and his shot selection has undoubtedly been 100 times worse than it was during the preseason. But at least in the preseason, he was hitting more shots. So you wonder how much of it is that leg injury. But yeah, I mean, at this point, it honestly feels like we're just making excuses for him. He's just, he's a 37-year-old trying to play in an NBA game. It's not going to be smooth sledding.
My wife was watching the game next to me, and she asked if his name wasn't Kobe, would he continue to start for this team? And given his stats and how he's playing, I think it's a fairly decent question to ask. Although I'm not sure that the Lakers have anybody better to start over him, right, Sabrina?
Yeah, I mean, you could see starting Anthony Brown or Larry Nance at that 3 spot instead of Kobe, because obviously this is a developing year, so we don't need to have somebody proven at that position. Mm-hmm. But just to piggyback on what Harrison was saying about comparing Dirk and Kobe, one of the weird things about Dirk's game today was he had a number of wide open shots that he elected to pass or move the ball to somebody else, and it just shows how much more willing he is to pass when he's such a better shooter than Kobe is at this stage in their careers. And Kobe's shot selection, I've never seen him take this many threes in my entire life. He's never been a volume 3-point shooter. It's so surprising.
I mean, he must have read his mentions one day and somebody criticized him for not taking enough threes, because I don't know who did that. Whoever you are, this is your fault, okay? Somebody convinced Kobe that the internet was saying he needed, or the media was saying he needed to take more threes. That was a note. Kobe, if you're listening and you're watching this in the Kobe copter on the way home or whatever, no one was saying that. You can cool it on the threes. It's okay.
Kobe he went 2 for 8 from the 3-point line tonight. I think at one point I saw he was 3 for 23, or eventually he was 5 for 25 on the season. I'm not sure if that's where he finished up at the end of the game, but this is it's brutal to watch. It's really brutal, and I kind of liken it to when I watch Tiger Woods play golf, and he still goes out there and he tries to whale the ball forever down the fairway, and his body continues to break down because you can't put that kind of torque on your back, on your left knee, on everything, and continue to play that same way without making some tweaks because Father Time is telling you you're not that guy anymore. And when I watch Dirk, he plays completely within himself. He knows, all right, I have this step back shot that goes off of the backboard or whatever, and you carry on from there. Kobe's still trying to make moves that he was making as a 25-year-old. That's just not going to work out. I didn't anticipate talking about Kobe, but yeah, it's sad to watch one of the best players of our lifetime disintegrate essentially while we're watching him on the court.
Out here disintegrating our childhood memories.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna liven it up and lighten it up by talking about Brian Kelly and Brandon Bass. It's safe to say, I mean, Byron says he's not going to change the rotation anytime soon or even consider changing the rotation, but the experiment has taken its course, right, Sabrina? This is bad. This is Kobe levels bad. Yeah.
During the second quarter when we started with that Kelly and Bass front court, Zaza was just getting to the rim at will. Dwight Powell faced no resistance. These are not guys who are legitimate post scorers. They shouldn't be, dominating inside. And it was just, what are they supposed to do? There's no potential rim protection there. Even Sacre would be an upgrade at this point.
Well, that's the thing. The talk was, we're keeping Sacre, or we meaning the front office. The reasoning was that they're keeping Sacre because they know what he brings at the end of the bench and all that good stuff, and he's a leader and blah 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 blah. But if he's not going to play at all, and it doesn't seem like Byron's even considered playing him or Tarek Black for some reason. Neither of those.
He hasn't considered changing the rotation.
What is Sacre doing on the roster? If it's not for Upshaw, if you want to just have an empty roster spot at the end of the bench, I'd be fine with that. But continuing to go with Brian Kelly and Brandon Bass, it was a literal layup line. They stopped the game so that they could hand out a few more basketballs, and the Dallas Mavericks could just line up and take layups on the Lakers basket. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. You guys are going to have to rewind the game if you missed it. Have you seen anything in any course of any of these games, Harrison, that makes you think maybe this rotation, this front court is salvageable?
Well, Ryan Kelly got a game-winning dunk once. I don't know. I don't think Bass was in the game for that though, so I don't think that counts.
It doesn't count. I don't
think.
But
I just wanted to bring it up because I was there and I witnessed it live in person, and I still don't believe myself telling the story. But no, I don't think that we've seen anything from this front court. It was cute when it was during the preseason and Byron was trying to mess up other teams' decision-making processes by getting their end-to-bench players to go for huge numbers against the front court because they couldn't protect the rim. But now the real season is going. We need to cool it with this.
Yeah,
I just don't get how someone who's been so averse to change for the most part, based on analytics, based on the changing style, the way that the game is played now, it almost comes off as it's like okay, you think I should go small? Well, here we go. No rim protection. Let's do this. I'll show you idiots.
Yeah, I think it was Matt Belinsky tweeted that see, I'm hip with it, guys. I'm hip to the new basketballs and stuff.
What's up, fellow teens?
Yeah. I'm gonna play Brandon Bass at center, y'all, for spacing.
Do the Twitters.
And then he mentioned sample size afterward. Byron is changing a move, and his suits haven't been terrible the last 2 games. I don't know what's going on there. Baby steps. Baby steps. Speaking of Byron, Harrison, do you want to take us through the quotes that we have post game at all? Do you have a few of those that you wanted to go with?
Nothing else really came out that was all that notable, other than that we already talked about. Other than he said that he also is under the theory of Kobe's a little hurt. He just said that the 2 weeks set him back. He's trying to get that feel back. And he said that he needs a bigger sample size before he decides if he should increase or decrease practice time. So, yay. Might go back up to 3-hour ones.
Cool.
Yeah, other than that, nothing really. Just Brandon Bass corneal abrasion. And yeah, that's about it. That's all it's. From what I've seen scattered, it sounds like Russell and Clarkson both sounded pretty despondent in their post-game interviews, but without any specific quotes. Serena Winters just said the vibe is definitely low in the locker room tonight.
I did see Russell mention the Mavs offense, which seems interesting. You know, if you want to read into that, and the Mavs are running up the score in the first quarter. I think it was 15-0 before Kobe finally hit 3.
It was a 15-0 run to start the game.
Mm-hmm. And Darius from Form Blue and Gold had a great tweet that I didn't even quote retweet. I thought it was really well said, that when you have a coach who continues to call out the Lakers' effort, and then they come out and the other team gets a 15-0 run, that might be more of a statement about, you know, that message that Byron continues to try to send than anything that they're doing strategically, I would say. So that was kind of interesting. But what do you think about, Sabrina, what do you think of Russell talking about the Mavs offense with Rick Carlisle, whose contract is up at the end of the season?
Well, first of all, there's reports that Carlisle and the Mavs are working on an extension, right? So let's not get our hopes up there. But
don't do it, Rick!
I felt really bad for Russell.
We can still kidnap him, right? That's what you do when the Mavs are working on a contract with someone.
Go ahead. That was a good one, Harrison.
I felt really bad for Russell because he finally started getting his jumper going in the third quarter, and then Byron took him out. And we got the lead cut to 8. You know, Randle was doing his thing, and he took him out, right? Either for Kelly or Bass. I can't remember for who, but just really weird rotations that didn't seem to maximize how we were playing. I mean,
right. Yeah,
it just didn't make any sense. Like, we finally had a rhythm going, and he decided to take our comfortable players out and replace them.
Harrison, I don't like talking about, you know, people losing their job because that's a human element that I just don't really like getting into too much. But what would it take to get Byron fired? Like how bad do you think it has to get before we start hearing, hey, the front office isn't really happy with what's going on here? You get the vote of confidence from Jim Buss or Mitch Kupchak. Like, at what point do we start seeing that kind of thing happen?
I think I don't know. It'd have to be really rough. It would have to continue on like this to make where they're losing games like this, and maybe they're like 0-8 or something, or 1-7. I think maybe around 8 games in, I mean, that's when they fired Mike Brown, right? If I remember correctly.
I think it was only 5.
It was 5 games in. Okay, well then Laker blood will give him an extra 3. I think around 8 is when at least the front office is going to start getting asked about it and kind of be forced to go on the record with someone about his job status. Because, yeah, it doesn't look like he's talking about all this stuff about the players. It looks like they're giving effort, but they're just tired, so I'm gonna have less practice. Players have come to me with they want less practice, but then they aren't playing well. His rotations haven't been very good. And just a lot of people are there. There's the seat's getting warm from public pressure, where almost to the point where it was towards the end of D'Antoni's time with the Lakers, when you basically had a lot of guys in the media saying that D'Antoni should be gone. You had Magic Johnson most notably, and the Time Warner Cable Sportsnet guys were even criticizing him pretty heavily. So you wouldn't think that would start to happen with Byron because he's so buddy-buddy with a lot of these guys in the local media. But there is public pressure. I mean, if you just went through the silver screen and roll mentions, Fire Byron Scott was trending.
I got a link sent to the comments in this video for a change.org link there, or thing that's been set up, a petition to get Byron fired or something having to do with Mitch. So that's happening.
Isn't change.org the site where a certain amount of signatures and the president has to weigh in on it?
Oh my goodness, really?
So we're gonna
we're gonna have a thanks Obama hashtag to go along with a Fire Byron hashtag. Oh goodness.
I think it's got to be like a couple 100,000 signings, but
yeah,
I think at a certain point, I think change.org is the one where the president might have to weigh in on it.
Well, I look forward to having Barack Obama on this podcast.
I can't wait to write that short form post. Obama says Byron should be safe.
All right, so the other thing on Byron, and this is more of a larger issue, but you get the names like Luke Walton, Tom Thibodeau, go on down the line. We hope and pray that Rick Carlisle just tells the Mavs that he doesn't want a new contract because for some reason, some moment of insanity. But with the thing I'm worried about is you do have other candidates who are working currently with other teams. Ettore Messina for the Spurs. Luke, would you rather the Lakers just keep an interim and kind of let this season happen, see how it goes, and then bring in a full line of interviews at the end of the year, or do you think the Lakers go with like a Thibodeau and then just kind of just like George Karl, just let that kind of keep on going until the foreseeable future, Harrison?
I would kind of rather go with an interim and ride things out and reevaluate at the end of the year, see who's available. I can't think of a ton of other teams that have coaches on the hot seat right now off the top of my head. So it's not like you're going to lose one of those guys that's available currently if you wait, it doesn't seem like. And then at least you can interview the other assistants and see who you like.
And going with an interim, once somebody else fires another team, that's when you have a little bit more urgency to bring on somebody like Tibbs who'd get calls elsewhere, right, Sabrina?
Yeah.
Yeah, but as much as I like the idea of waiting until the off season just so you get a full pool of candidates, I don't want to have to sit through another 60 games of Byron Scott, poisoning our young core. I mean, someone like Scott Brooks might be interesting because we're not in the path to contending anytime soon. He was really good with obviously the OKC youth is a little talented, but we have really good pieces that he could work with, that might be something to consider.
You had him, you had Westbrook and Durant kind of grow under him, and you're hoping that the young guys kind of grow under Brooks the same way. I don't really know which way I lean in that. I think you do what you do, or you do what you have to get the most options. And right now, sticking with an interim, not sticking with Byron. Like the Byron thing has ended, and I apologize to the Uber driver. I apologize to God when I told him that I promised I would give Byron, you know, a longer leash if I just survive this Uber ride. But I can't do this anymore. The offense is terrible.
You just threw off 90% of our listeners.
What happened? Oh yeah, so, yeah. Anybody who's interested in that tweet, I'll dig it up. Maybe I probably won't. But yeah. No, it's tough. You're still talking about a team who's only been together for a month, but it just doesn't seem like there's any real light at the end of the tunnel here. Let's go. We're gonna lighten it up just a little bit to finish off the show here. Let's find the funniest thing that happened during the game. And for me, I'll start so that you guys have a little bit to think about the funniest things that happened during the game. Was actually a tweet that I saw from Lakers Outsiders, who I believe was commenting on the Lakers' interior defense. And they said they couldn't finish the tweet before the Mavericks scored again. From within the key, which Ryan Kelly, Brandon Bass, y'all, that caught my eye. Harrison, anything stick out to you?
Well, this was actually on the court, but the funniest individual moment, I believe it was in the first, it was late in the first quarter, early in the second quarter, but that Kelly Bass front court was in, and the Mavs basically looked confused for a second about who they were supposed to attack in the pick and roll. And then I think it was either J.J. Barea or Darren Williams. Just their eyes just lit up when they realized that they could put Huertas and Kelly in a pick and roll with Dirk. And that's a offensive fantasy right there.
That is pretty good. Anything that gets Darren Williams at this point in his career excited it has to be pretty egregious.
Yeah, I mean, he comes from the Nets, who are basically basketball robots. They just shout out to Joe Johnson. It's not that bad here.
Yeah, you were going to comment on is that where you're going to go?
Williams with a bald head. I thought it was Vince Carter like 7 times when I was watching.
I thought it was Vince Carter at first too when I first barely looked.
Yeah, that was kind of mind-boggling a little bit. Sabrina, take us home with your the funniest moment that you saw from the game.
Honestly, when the fourth quarter started, I thought the Laker fans were chanting, "We want tacos, not we want Randle." But I think it's going to be a long time before we hear the taco chant.
Jack in the Box is going to be like, guys, could you play a little defense so that we can get people into our store?
They're never going to give tacos this year. It's never going to happen.
We can't sell these tacos. We have to give them away.
Oh, man.
Well, actually, I'm going to have a second one if we have a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
The other one was Drew Garrison, our editor-in-chief, was asking for people with suggestions for coaching candidates if the Lakers were to can Byron. Mm-hmm. And people were saying, I saw suggestions for Jim Hill, local broadcaster, Lisa Leslie, and Rob Fukuzaki. I'm not sure if I'm not butchering his name, the ABC 7 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the people on Twitter they're fed up. They're tired of this.
Were those all from ABC 7? Were those all from ABC 7? Like,
it was actually Rob Fukuzaki's account. He was just suggesting.
And nobody's watching that ABC 7 post-game show, so they're just like, "Hey, we're still over here."
Yeah, we're still doing it. They're all watching this one because it's so great. We're the best.
Ish. All right, that does it for this episode of Lakers Late Night. Another loss. For the Lakers, they fall to the Mavericks by some undisclosed score. Let me see. We have it somewhere here. There we go. 103-93. The Lakers fall to the Mavericks. Their next game, I believe, is when?
It is Tuesday.
Tuesday, they take on
the Denver Nuggets.
There you go. Harrison is much more prepared.
Moody A. Russell was supposed to be. That was one I had marked down on my calendar before the season started. But man, this has not been great so far.
Yeah, no, it's been brutal. It's been brutal thus far. That'll do it. Like I said, thank you very much, Sabrina, for hopping on. I look forward to having you on in future shows. Thank you very much. Anytime. And then thank you very much, Harrison, for joining us again tonight. Stand strong with those silver screen and roll mentions. You can pull through. It's gonna be.
I'll
okay.
make it.
I'm gonna. And again, it's official. The Royals won the World Series, so congratulations, Tom, and all the Royals fans out there. One day the Lakers get to celebrate a championship again. Someday it might happen. Thank you, everybody. We will talk to you later, either on Tuesday or later in the week, with a Lakers Lounge episode to be determined.
Thanks, Anthony.
Anytime.